Among other crazy news coming out of Russia this week, a monstrous sandstorm hitting the south of the country. BRICS energy meeting turns out to be a paper tiger. Prison terms are to be shortened for reading. Russian government is hugely ineffective in its work. Another proof this week. And the biggest news of the week is many Russians are facing poverty now. And I have something to prove it. Howdy, howdy, friends. My name is Konstantin. Welcome to Inside Russia, where usual Russia is explained by the unusual Russian. Welcome to Fridays and the weekends. I give you crazy news update every weekend, straight out of the mad circus that Russia unfortunately has become. But first things first, there is no such absurdity that cannot be realized in Russia these days. Please remember that. And the news? I call them crazy news from Russia. The news of Russia that matter and that you will not find in any mainstream Western media. But I'd like to start with a fresh joke this time. Russia, Christmas of 2025. 3 men check into a hotel. The first 2 men immediately open a bottle of vodka, start drinking, and the third man goes straight to bed, trying to fall asleep. But he's unable to do so because his friends are increasingly drunk and telling political jokes to each other very loudly. And after a while, the man gets tired, very frustrated, and he walks downstairs to take a smoke. He decided to play a joke on his friends. He stops in a lounge and asks the receptionist to bring to their room a set of tea for the 3 in 5 minutes. Then he walks back to the room, joins the table, leans towards the power outlet and speaks into it. Comrade Major, I'd like to have tea set to room 62, please, in 5 minutes. His friends laugh and forget about the joke, but in 5 minutes exactly there's a knock on the door and the receptionist brings a teapot and 3 cups. And the friends fall silent and they become pale, horrified at what they just witnessed. Oh, obviously, the party is dead and they all go to bed. And after a good night's rest, a man wakes up and notices that his friends are gone. Surprised, he walks downstairs and asks the receptionist where the friends went. And the nervous guy whispers into the man's ear, "The KGB came and took them before dawn." And the man is horrified. He wonders why he was spared. Well, the receptionist whispers, "Comrade Major really liked your tea joke." Now, that's for Christmas 2025. That's, around the corner, so to speak. As they say in Russia, each joke has a part of joke. Now, straight to the news. Today's first news is created by Mother Nature. I actually like showing news like that. It reminds me, and I share it with everyone, that Russia is a large, alive country, and Russian people sometimes face the same difficulties as everyone else in the world. And this is what is happening in the south of Russia right now. This is the southern Russia between Kalmykia and Caucasus. Dash cams. Strong side winds, limited visibility, but no, it's not snow, it's a snowstorm. Four large provinces are being affected, and Rostov province, where I was born and grew up, is right at the epicenter of this large, huge dust storm. Now, I remember quite a few dust storms happened when I lived in Rostov, but none of this magnitude. I guess I wonder what is next. Don River turning blood? The locust flying in? Okay, we'll have to wait and see. Another news is energetic. Sergei Tsevilyov, Russia's Minister of Energy, made a speech in a meeting of the ministers of energy of the BRICS countries in Moscow. You can see the ministers here. BRICS 2024, 9th BRICS Energy Ministers Meeting, 26th of September 2024. So anyway, this is what Sergei Tsevilyov said.
Наши страны играют важнейшую роль в мировой энергетической повестке, занимая лидирующие позиции как в сфере традиционной энергетики.
Our countries are expected to provide half of the world's energy production and consumption. The BRICS countries play a crucial role in global energy production and agenda. You know, our economies and energy systems are leading both in traditional energy and renewable energy sources. The BRIC countries produce and consume 3/4 of the world coal and about 40% of natural gas. With a possible expansion, BRICS' role in the global oil market will increase. More than 40% of global oil production and about 40% of petroleum product consumption will amount to the BRICS countries. You see, I don't question the words of the minister. I'm pretty sure that he quoted the right numbers. And the BRICS role, the countries of BRICS, their role is quite large in the world. But I have a different question. So what? BRICS is an association that exists on paper only. It doesn't have common currency, a special system of payment. It has no trade regulations, nothing. Yes, it does exist on paper, and the ministers meet sometimes, and even the presidents meet, and they talk, blah, 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 blah. Yet, Russia makes a huge deal out of it, time and time again, and it has just made another huge deal. The BRICS countries will provide half of world's energy production and consumption. Yes, they will. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, large countries. I mean, just think about it. Look at the map and at their size. They produce a lot of energy. They consume a lot of energy, but their systems are independent from each other. BRICS or no BRICS, these countries produced in the past and will produce in the future tons of energy, and they're not interconnected with each other. The only countries that trade is China is buying lots of Russian oil, used to buy. It's decreasing importing Russian oil, and China buys Russian electricity at an extremely low price. So that's pretty much it. So the production will not be affected. Consumption will be not affected. BRICS or no BRICS has no effect whatsoever if countries are part of this association or not. Yet Russia keeps pushing its agenda. Well, it is the last hope, so to speak. what's much more important is that for Russia, it needs some kind of international recognition for being part of something internationally. Because you see, Russia has been ostracized from everything pretty much. It has over 13,000 international sanctions placed on it, making it the most sanctioned country in the human history. And everyone is turning away from Russia, including China, including Turkey, including, Argentina. Russia desperately needs something to get recognition for. Therefore, it hosts BRICS. What's much more important, is the ministers himself, the Tsivilyov guy, Sergei Tsivilyov, okay? Tsivilyov has nothing to do with energy industry. Well, he is the minister now, but he had nothing to do until recently. He graduated from military naval school. Then he studied finances at the university. He never received, he's not an engineer. He never received an energy degree of any kind. Well, he's just, he married Anna, a niece of Vladimir Putin. And then his career took off, and it landed him into the chair of the Minister of Energy, where he, with a serious look on his face, talks about all things energy, That's Russia for you. The next news comes from the Russian parliament. I'd rather see them as lawmakers, but I keep on seeing them time and time and time again as the newsmakers, and they're the newsmakers again this week. A few senators proposed to shorten imprisonment terms for people, for, those who got the terms, for each book read. An official proposal was sent to the Ministry of Justice this week. The senators from the political party called the New People appeal that 44% of people released from prisons in Russia commit crimes again. And the reason for the loss, a reason for that is a loss of social connections, the lack of professional skills, and the main thing, according to the senators, is unwillingness to study. Therefore, it was proposed to reduce the length of stay in prisons for reading books. Well, what kind of books? Russian classic literature. Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, Gorky, and others. 44% of criminals commit crimes again after being released from prison because they don't study, 44,000 people out of 100,000 released committed crimes again last year. I'm not senator, but I have a different suggestion or approach to solving this problem. How about you keep the convicts at prisons for full terms instead of releasing and pardoning them for serving in the Russian army in Ukraine? Like that cannibal I talked last time in the last Friday news. He served 2 years for his cannibalistic crime, caught red-handed, and literally red-handed, and bragging of his crime. He didn't repent. He was very proud of what he did. And he served a couple years out of his 25-year sentence. He was taken out of the prison, pardoned by Vladimir Putin, sent to the front lines, and after 6 months, he was sent back to the village with a clean criminal record where he is taking it easy now. Well, I guess he's getting hungry. No books needed for him or other murderers, rapists, and child molesters. They belong to prison to serve full terms. And the good senators? They're acting as if Russia doesn't have any other problems, A good portion of Russia, Kursk province, has been taken over by the Ukrainian army. Russian economy is down the drain. Russian political system is usurped, but it's not. None of this is a concern of the good senators, and it shows you pretty much what Russia is these days. The next news also comes from Russian government, and it's a good example of how it deals with problems. Now, if you want to know Russia better, if you want to look deeper, look no further. Listen to what I have to say. 7 billion rubles. That's a lot of money. So 7 billion rubles in 2025 will be spent for a national project called Personnel in the Agricultural Industrial Complex. Before, I didn't even know that such complex existed, but I guess it does. The goal of this project is to attract young people to the industry, agriculture. This was stated by Deputy Minister of Agriculture of Russia, Ksenia Shevelkina. I couldn't even find a picture of her. It was some kind of young girl. I don't believe that that girl is a deputy prime minister, but I have no one to show you. I'm sorry. So she held a meeting in a city called Ufa, and this is where she stated that the government needed to bring more young people into the agriculture. I quote, "The Ministry of Agriculture is currently forming a project of technological sovereignty, and it has a number of sectorial federal projects. One of them is called the Personnel in the Agriculture Industrial Complex. Next year, we are providing funding from the federal budget of 7 billion rubles, and the key objectives of the project, the key goals are to increase the staffing level of agricultural enterprises." End quote. Woohoo! According to the estimates that she's giving, staffing in the agricultural industrial complex now ranges from 85 to 90%, which I don't believe, but I think it's much lower because unemployment rate is 2.2 officially. But let's go along with these numbers. And so 85 to 90%. So from 15 to 10% of labor force is missing from the agriculture. Yeah, right. And the goal is to bring the figure to 95%. So to increase it by 5 to 10% by 2030. This is the key point, by 2030. It is also necessary to resolve the issue of attracting workers of younger age, as now there are about 300,000 workers, farmers in the industry who are over 75 years old. 350,000 men. To do this, the implementation of the agro-classes projects, agro-classes, will continue, the number of which should reach 18,000. From what I understood, the 18,000 people should attend the classes. Well, from 2025, also, the Ministry of Agriculture will assist in equipping such classes with the equipment necessary for the educational processes, compensating for part of the cost of their purchase to future employers. In addition, it is planned to pay extra to teachers who will teach lessons in these agricultural classes. Now, in my mind, this is a perfect example of how they work. Yes, there is a huge crisis in the agricultural industry in Russia. I've been talking about that for the past 2 years since the mobilization started, and the deputy minister just proved my words. And the industry needs help, certainly. And this is how you help. Step number 1, you stop taking young farmers to the front lines. You stop the war and return those farmers who are still alive home. Farmers suffered the most in the mobilization 2 years ago. The villages were the first places where the military came to rake people in. Step number 2, you lower taxes for the farmers and eliminate licensing to the necessary minimum. Step number 3, you give farmers direct subsidies. For example, partially reimburse them for buying new tractors, combine harvesters, trucks, the machinery they need and they use every day. And step number 4, you improve the infrastructure, roads, electricity supply, internet, you build schools for farmers, their children, you build medical clinics, you improve quality of life. You do that and watched your agriculture industry miraculously grow fast. And it's just a few things right off the top of my head from my experience, how you jumpstart an industry. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that, to figure out that. No, that's the right way. Instead, Russian government creates a national project or national projects or whatever, and funnels billions of taxpayers' rubles into such projects, increasing the staffing of agriculture complex project, 7 billion rubles. I emphasize, 7 billion are not going to the farmers, but to those who are a part of this national project. For hiring thousands of people, managers, executive secretaries for this project, renting a very expensive offices in the center of Moscow, creating special classes in schools, buying expensive computers, creating pretty fancy, very expensive advertising materials that are going to be distributed in schools at the universities, showing ads on TV, telling people how important it is to be farmers, etc. And they will spend all of that money, 7 billion rubles. You'd better believe it, they will. They're professionals at that. Now, let's look at the real results they could get out of it. They claim that the best case scenario, the agri classes will be created until 2030, and for 18,000 children or young adults, let's say the classes will influence 10% of those who will attend to become farmers. That's 1,800 new young farmers. And they are to replace 350,000 farmers of age over 75 that are working in the farms right now. And this is a perfect example of how Russia works in 2024. The next news is another example of how Russia works. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. So, how it works and what a sad state it is in now, it has become. Now, first, Russia is a sad state now. Russia's president assistant, the former minister of culture, Vladimir Meditsky, this fella right here, called current model of school education consisting of 11-year-long program with total of 11 grades and unacceptable luxury. Unacceptable luxury. Unacceptable luxury. He called 11 years of school for children unacceptable luxury. Friends, I went to school for 11 years. I studied all kinds of things at school. I find it an optimal length to study. Medinsky stated that primary and high school education will soon be compressed in time. I quote Medinsky, talking to TASS information agency recently. Current time dictates a reduction in duration of children's education. The fact that we have 11 years is an unacceptable luxury. It's like we're living in the 19th century. It should be compressed in order for children to enter the field of vocational training earlier. It should be competitive. Children shouldn't wait until 19 to start thinking of what to do in life, end quote. He also said that he believes that studying at universities for 5 or 6 years should also become a thing of the past. Now, this is the sad part. It's actually hard to believe. Some people in Russia criticize me for being overly dramatic. And I said many times before that Putin has already done. He has stolen future from Russia, from Russian people. The future is gone. It's too late. Russia will change into something not pretty. I mean, it has been changing, but the worst is yet to come. And this is how. He has plans, Putin has plans to dumb the children down. Not just the children, students too. Now, you tell me down below in the comments, what do you think? Do you think I'm being overly dramatic or in my forecasts, or you think I'm right on? Please comment. It is very important for me to know. So this is the sad part of the news. But the second part is, again, explains how Russia works today. Again, mark my words. This is to understand today's Russia. Medinsky suggested the education in Russia is too long on the 24th of September. And 5 days later, on the 29th of September, Russian propaganda information agency TASS, oh, you know that organization all too well, it officially announced that it has some kind of research done or has research in its hands that says that, I quote, 1 in 3 Russians believes that the duration of schooling should be reduced. And the reasons are given too. For example, there used to be a 10-year system in the past, and the graduates were very good. Or 2 years are clearly superfluous. Or at 18, you can get married, but our children are still sitting at school desks. Oh boy. These reasons given are crap, obviously. Not a single parent in her or his right mind would want so the state spends less. Hey, the economic tsunami, that's one of the faces of the economic tsunami that is here. They start counting every ruble now. Then they need dumber people. It's much easier to control them. Then they need children to become factory workers at younger age. They are lacking factory workers. And here are the first polls in the right direction coming through TASS. So far, it's just 30% of Russians want to dumb down their own children. But yeah, that's okay. You know, the numbers will grow in the future. We'll fix that. Then they will soon explain on TV that children should study a maximum 9 grades in order to work for the benefit of Russia and bring a penny to the family budget for the parents. I mean, that's good, right? And then Russian children shouldn't be like the Western trans children who are just sitting on their parents' necks, yet they get paid for the universities. So they sitting on the parents' necks until early 20s, okay? And of course not. That's not the way for the Russian children. And on TV, they will explain how our heroic children will be standing behind the machines after school to make ammunitions for the army. And the ones who don't want to work after school, that nothing but traitors to the motherland. Now it's not the time to study, but to work and to defend the motherland, because it's surrounded by the enemies, by the Satanists. They want to destroy Russia. They want to take everything from these good children, and just, so bad people. So, this isn't the USSR. I remember we didn't have it as bad in the USSR. This is much, much worse. This is Stalin and George Orwell mixed together on steroids. Or perhaps some over-dramatize, Please let me know down in the comments. Thank you. The next news comes from the US Embassy in Moscow, actually from the facade of the embassy. And this is what Russia Today projected onto the facade of the American Embassy. Check this out. We're not going away. We aren't gonna take it. We aren't gonna take it. We're not gonna take it anymore. First of all, I think it's very wrong to project something onto another country's embassy. This is just a big no-no. I mean, what would Russians say, what the Russian government would say if Americans would project something onto Russian embassy? It's insane. Then they're saying we're not going away. I take it, well, I'm not really sure why, what they mean, but I think that was RT's answer to the American sanctions. On September 13th, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken accused RT and its parent company of acting as an extension of Russian intelligence and attempting to undermine democracy around the world. This, certainly has a point. He brings evidence and he gives facts. And this is the answer that Russia Today is giving. Projecting these words "we're not going away" onto the US Embassy in Moscow. Will RT go away, really? What do I think? I think it will. RT will go away. But not as a result of a pressure from the outside, from America or from other countries, but as a result of what will happen inside Russia one day, sooner or later. Another news is fire. Literally, it is fire. Check this out. It is short news, but very hot. I mean, look at this picture. Take a good look at it. Do you know what it is? No, these burning buildings in the famous Molkino village near the city of Krasnodar in the south of Russia is nothing but the private army Wagner field HQ. Well, it was the field HQ until the fire consumed everything there. The cause of the fire, hey, who are you kidding? No one investigated, but obviously it was arson, and we know who put everything on fire. The state is erasing everything Prigozhin and Wagner from the minds and memories of people. Wagner's era was very colorful, but very short. But you know what? They're making one big mistake. They are erasing the memory of Wagner, but at the same time, they are keeping and even multiplying private armies in Russia. And Wagner was just the first, was an early bird, and we will see other birds too. Mark my word on that. Before moving to the next news, I would like to thank you all. Friends, thank you. Thank you so much. I keep getting words of support, emails, good wishes, encouragement, love, prayers. Thank you so much. Thank you for everyone who cares. Thank you for contacting me, writing me, commenting. Thank you for watching my videos. Thank you for buying me coffees at buymecoffee.com, becoming patrons at patreon.com. Thank you for sending funds directly to PayPal. Thank you so much. I'm still demonetized, still no news. Who knows if and when I will get monetization back. Thank you so very much. I'm very touched by your help, love, prayers, and support. So let's get to the next news. And it's Russia's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Sergei Lavrov. Very famous guy. A lot of you have heard of him, have seen him speak. He gave Russians hope last week. Many, myself included, have said that Russia's car manufacturing industry has been destroyed. And there are reasons behind us saying that. And I've given you reasons many times. Facts, figures, numbers, the whole 9 yards. But Lavrov just gave us all a glimpse, a ray of hope. Lavrov assured Russians that what we're saying about Russian car industry destroyed is not true. Welcome the Minister of Foreign Affairs. I don't really know why he talks about the car manufacturing, but hey, Sergei Lavrov is in the house.
Некоторые подтрунивают над тем, что вот наш автопром это просто китайский импорт. Это не так. Импортозамещение работает, есть планы по переходу на производство собственных автомобилей с использованием китайских наработок.
Now, let me translate what good Sergei Lavrov said. Many are joking and trolling that Russian car manufacturing is just importing the Chinese cars. That is not true. The Russian car industry is not an import from China. There is the plan to produce its own cars using the Chinese technologies. Yes, you see, there's hope. There is the plan to produce own cars. There are no cars, but there is the plan. And again, I hear again and again and again. And this is 2.5 years into the war. Everything is going according to the mysterious plan. No one has seen it, but everyone knows it. It's there. It only took Vladimir Putin 25 years. He had all this time in the world, 25 years. And it took him not to revive the automobile industry, but 25 years to create the plan of reviving automobile industry. So If it takes them 25 years to create the plan, imagine how many years it's going to take them to actually revive the car manufacturing industry in Russia. It'd be interesting to see the plan. Remember, Russian children will be dumber soon. Russian engineers will be dumber soon. They will simply learn less. Their education, according to the good Medinsky, their education will be compressed in time. And that's not going to make them better engineers. It's not going to make them smarter graduates, okay? Far from it. So the Chinese government made the law that forbids building car plants in Russia and transfer Russian technology, transfer Chinese car technology to Russia. It's a law in China. They cannot do that. What will they actually do? You know, I don't think Lavrov is misinformed, to be honest with you. He's a smart guy. And he knows when to open his mouth and what to say. I think he's not being misinformed. He's just lying to us. Let him prove otherwise. Show us the plan. I personally, the only hope left for Russia is bang design and the Moscow Mule. That can save the industry. Nothing else will. By the way, news like today, I had 50 news to choose from, and I had to cut quite a few of them off because there's simply no time to tell every news. But I make 9 news available every single day that I find important about Russia. I put my commentaries and analysis, and I make them available to patrons at patreon.com, patrons of Inside Russia. 54 news every single week. That's my formula. So if you want to stay on top of things about Russia but don't know where to look no further at Patreon of Inside Russia. I'm going to put link down below after this stream ends. Check it out. I find it an excellent product. So I hope you become patrons soon. Okay. The last news is about poverty. I named my today's stream Poverty is Near, and it's not a clickbait. I claim that Russian people will descend into poverty. I know it's a very strong claim. First, let me explain what I mean when I say poverty. To me, poverty is a condition in which an individual lacks the financial resources and essentials for a certain standard of living. To me, it's not being able to afford decent housing, normal food, and basic things that make everyone happy. Not necessarily fancy or expensive, just basic things, you know, like being able to afford a little free time on the weekends to spend with family, friends, to rest, to buy things not necessarily expensive that make you feel happy. And this is not having that. This is what I call poverty. Why do I think that Russian people will descend into poverty soon? At least not all of them, of course, but a lot. Because I see that what's happening in the Russian economy. I'll give you a few signs right now that I personally pay attention to. Number 1, credit card debt. Now, the debts are not created equal. Some are better, some are worse. And credit card debt, out of all debts, is the worst. Most expensive one. One should stay away from credit card debt. You know, there are exceptions, but that, you know, that's basically, that's what applies to most of us. According to the company called the Scoring Bureau, a Russian company, the company providing credit scoring reports, for Russian banks and Russian individuals. So according to that company, Russians have been almost continuously increasing the share of the credit card limits used since August 2023. According to Oleg Lagutkin, the CEO of a scoring bureau, Russians' credit card expenses have increased due to rising consumer prices. The amount of spending could have remained the same, and the amount of card transactions increased following the prices, he explained. Credit card holders spend more now on food and necessary household needs. Credit card holders spend on food. Can you imagine charging your credit card to buy food? That is bad. Increasing credit card debt on a massive scale is a straight path to poverty. Number 2, civil economy shrinking. War economy is growing tremendously. Well, it has grown tremendously. It's stopped growing recently, but it did grow by a great deal. And GDP remaining fairly the same, it means one thing, that the civil economy has shrank tremendously for the amount the war economy grew. And also, this is a straight way to lower living standard. And for those who are doing well already, that's the pathway to poverty. The economic tsunami that I've been talking about so much in the last couple of years, you think this is just words? You think it's economic numbers? No, economic tsunami, it's people. It's people's lives destroyed. That's what it is. Because behind numbers, there are millions of Russians. Number 3, the number of personal bankruptcies have gone up by 70% in just 1 year, in 2024. It's a hard fact. You can't argue with this number. It's like black and white type of thing. It shows that so many people cannot make it these days. Number 4, raised taxes. They are raised starting 2025. It means less money in people's pockets. That's what raised taxes mean. And I remind you, Russia is undergoing the biggest biggest tax reformation in 25 years, in Putin years. The taxes are going to get raised tremendously, starting January 1st. Number 5, and the war, of course. Just ask 250,000 Russians from Kursk province who have lost everything, all life savings, everything they had worked for, had saved for, who have fled the war. Ask them how they do financially. And ask millions of Ukrainians who have fled Russian aggression as well. I'm sure you'll get answers from them, very strong answers, So, at the end, let me show you something. I want to see this. And take a good look at this.
Просто потому, что я заезжаю в коммуналку в 27 лет. Ничего не добилась. Я вообще никто. Я не хочу просто в эту квартиру тоже заселяться, потому что это делаю из безысходности, потому что у меня некуда идти.
I will translate you right after.
Однушки по 71 тысячи сейчас. Что мне стрёмно 27 лет снимать коммуналку. Я сразу ощущение, что ничего не добилась, что я просто образование не
Now, friends, I would like to translate what she's saying. This young woman, she's very emotional, very unhappy, she's crying. But this is what, let me guide you through her monologue, very emotional monologue.
Я реву. Я приехала, выгрузила вещи, я реву.
So I'm crying, I came, unloaded all my belongings, and I'm crying.
Я просто потому что заезжаю в коммуналку.
This is because I am moving into a communal housing. Communal housing. I'll explain you what it means in Russian.
27 лет.
27 years old.
Я ничего не добилась. Я вообще
I have nothing.
я не хочу просто в эту квартиру тоже заселяться.
I don't want to move into that place. It's a communal.
Что у меня некуда идти.
I have no place to go.
Однушки по 71 тысячи сейчас.
Very important. She says one bedroom apartments, small one bedroom apartments, are at 71,000 rubles per month right now.
Это мне стрёмно в 27 лет снимать коммуналку. Сразу ощущение, что ничего не добилась.
So 27 years old, and I'm going to communal housing.
Просто образование мне ничего не дало.
And my education hasn't given me anything. So why am I showing it to you? Because to me it's a sign. This lady, beautiful young woman, you can clearly see that she's not an addict. She's not a homeless person. She works. She has a college degree. She has, she takes care of herself. She has jewelry. She looks very, very neat, very nice. She seems professional, so she has a job. And she feels that she has not reached anything, and she cannot even afford a one-bedroom apartment, like studio type. Because in Moscow, now they go for 71,000 rubles, the cheapest one. And she's forced to rent a room in a communal apartment. No, the communal apartment is usually a room. It's an apartment. That's a two-bedroom apartment, and there are 3 rooms, and there are 3 or 4 people living there, sharing. And they're not like roommates in the United States, which is fairly historically okay to share an apartment with roommates. The communal housing is different. It was what most of Soviet people came from after the war. They had to share tiny places, packs of people lived there, large families in tiny rooms, okay? It's not usual to live in a communal housing. It's a thing of the past, or it was, okay? In Russia, it's the lowest you can go, and the next step is living on the street. And this girl cites the reason she has an education, she has a job, but she can't even afford a small one-bedroom apartment in Moscow. A studio, 1 bedroom, it's kind of the same thing there. 71,000 rubles per month. And let me tell you something. I am thinking about this price, and I, being an executive at a construction company in Moscow a few years ago, I would be in big trouble if I had to rent. Okay? I remember I bought an apartment, and I had rented 3 months before just to try it out. I had a deal with the guy who was selling it, and I paid 40,000 rubles, which was, not a cheap price, for 100 square meter 3-bedroom, a very large 3-bedroom, 2-bath apartment on a top floor. 40,000. Now, she says that the cheapest 1-bedroom, probably like 300 square feet, 30 square meters, is 71,000 rubles, almost twice as much. Now, the average price in Russia, according to Rosstat right now, is 70,000 rubles. It means that an average person having a good job in Russia, because 71,000 for Rostov, for example, is a lot. A lot of people I know get salary of 30,000 rubles. Yes, that is true. So an average throughout Russia is 70. Okay, fine. But they can't even afford a 2-bedroom apartment for that. Barely 1 bedroom, and they have no money left for anything, including food. Now, again, some say I am over-dramatize things, but please ask 42 millions of Russian pensioners, retired older people who are living on pensions from Russian government. Please ask them. Please ask millions, well, tens of millions of Russians who have gone through bankruptcy. Please ask the Russians who are using credit cards to charge food, buying food. Please ask, in some regions of Russia, people are overcredited 110%. I gave you the sources of that information in one of the previous streams. Please ask those who are credited 110%. Ask them if I'm too dramatic. The thing is, I'm seeing what I've been talking so much in the past 2 years. It took longer, about 1.5 years longer than I expected, but I'm seeing the science here, now, in front of my face. I'm seeing the science all over the place. Although I'm not in Russia, but hey, you know, you don't have to be in Russia to understand what is happening there, okay? And like I said, this isn't just numbers and figures and, you know, rubles and percentages and key interest rates and so forth, you know, it's not. It's the people. Behind all of that is the people. People who cannot afford things. It's this girl right here who is crying. And if you think she's alone, no, you are wrong. Because I'm seeing more and more videos like that. I see more and more people very unhappy, very unsatisfied with their lives. I talk to people in Russia all the time, and, you know, the mood is not optimistic. This is why I'm saying that the poverty is near. And I think that 2025 will be a very, very hard year. The fall of 2024 will be full of events, and 2025 will be full of tears and full of drama and tragedies. Thank you so much. That has been my message. Now I want you to see the video I made of how I was leaving Russia. I'm gonna put a link up here. I only had 36 hours to go, and check it out. I documented every single step. I'll see you soon.